Okay, I'm going to answer some serious questions here today about making quiche. And this particular segment is going to be about how to roll out the fine lining pastry. Of course, the dough is made in the pumpkin tart video that's in our Thanksgiving section. You can refer to there in terms of how this dough was made. So I had this dough in the refrigerator and I took it out about 15-20 minutes ago, and it's not soft, so it's still a little bit hard. This particular dough must be rolled out while it's cold because it has a fair amount of butter in it, you know. Anyway, the pan that we're going to anchor this dough into is a classic flan pan, or flan pan, as it's called in France. They, of course, invented this idea. This is a false bottom, fluted-sided 10 to 12-inch pan. And we're going to anchor the dough into that when we get it rolled out. So I'm going to make sure that the dough first is just kind of get it kind of ready, because you see how hard it is. This is certainly a way in which you can see that too. Okay, now when you're rolling this out, we're going to be sure that we're not stretching it, of course. And we're going to lubricate this table with only enough flour that is required, and not just pile a bunch of flour on there, because the dough will absorb the flour and begin to get dry on you. So the amount of flour we want in this dough is already in it, and so remember that. Not any more flour than you need. If it sticks to the table, of course, you don't have enough. Now this rolling pin, of course, which is a classic French tapered ended rolling pin, which you can probably only buy in a specialty cookware store. This rolling pin is very, very good for this kind of thing, because it allows you to put small amounts of pressure on different sections of the dough at a time, rather than having one thing with handles that moves. The pressure kind of remains the same. Here you can put pressure on this side or that side or just the middle. It's very nice like that. Notice how this dough is rolling out very well. It's not coming apart on you or anything like that. Part of that has to do with the fact that it was properly mixed together when I made it, okay? We're going to par bake this in the oven, and I'm going to show you how to put what's known as pie weights into the pan. And we're going to line it with wax paper, and we're going to par bake the dough before we pour that savory quiche custard into the pan to finish off the baking process. Okay, there you go. I think that's just the right amount of thickness. Now here's how I'm going to put it in the pan. This is important now. I'm going to anchor it up against the sides first by going around once. Now this pan is a little bit short here, this way. Now they come a little higher too, and I'm going to show you how to make this pan higher by what you do with the dough here, so that you can pour more custard into the pan if you want. And you don't have to do that. You can make the quiche in a shallow pan like this without increasing the height of the dough, which is what I'm going to show you how to do. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to do that by folding over the dough a little bit and giving myself a little bit of extra dough here. And then we're going to increase the wall, the side of the dough. I'm going to go all the way around. You're kind of measuring, because some parts of it, the dough may have a little bit more thickness or thinness to it right here up by the perimeter where I'm pushing on it. Okay, now, of course, you can do it by hand, or you can just take your pin and roll it right over the top. That will cleanly remove all the, all of the excess dough. Fortunately, we're done with that pin now. In terms of cleaning your pins, by the way, be careful about, don't ever put those wooden rolling pins in your dish machine. You'll ruin them. Okay, so now I'm going to elevate the extra dough by squeezing it up a little bit. Okay, that shell is ready to go. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to prick the bottom, not too much. Got about a dozen pricks in there, and I'm going to line this with paper, and I have little sheets of wax paper here, and I'm going to use, in this particular case, I'm going to use some black beans, which I have a tendency to use over and over and over again. We're going to pour them right in here, and these are what we're using as what I call, or what's referred to as pie weights. And this is going to help keep the dough in its shape while you're par baking it in the oven, okay? You can use these same beans over and over and over again. I even once cooked them after using them a few times, and then we ate them, but I'm not so sure if that's a good idea or not. Okay, now let's get ourselves a half sheet pan, and we're going to place this in an oven at 400 degrees initially, and we're going to par bake it. We're going to go back in and out and check it, and this of course is going to be a time-elapsed session in the process of making the quiche. And we're going to begin by putting it in the oven now. I have the oven preheated at 400 degrees. Now, there may be points during this par baking process where I think the oven is too hot. I may turn it down to 350 because I don't want the edges of this burning during this par baking process. I'll bring you back into that oven. We will lift that paper up and look in there later. And you'll get a good idea of when the par baking process is done. So I'll be back now, which is probably going to be in about 30 minutes, possibly even 40 minutes, okay? All right. Time to finish the quiche. Now, the tart shell has been baking, lined with the black beans, which I used as the pie weights. And I'm taking it out. And we're going to take a peek here, what's going on here. Now, when we get down in here underneath here, I can see there's a little bit of good, decent texture. So I know the bottom of this crust has got a little crispiness on it right now, and that's what I want. So right now, I'm going to carefully, hopefully I won't spill this on you, carefully take the beans out. Put them right back where they came from. I got lucky on that one. All right. Now, we have a par-baked shell. Now, what we're going to do right now, we could save the par-baked shell. We could do this today and then do all this other stuff that I'm about to do tomorrow if we wanted to. So you can par-bake the shell and put it away, depending. But I don't think you need to because quiche is the kind of thing that you normally bake and then slightly reheat anyway. You normally don't bake it, take it out, and cut it. It has to cool a little bit so you can cut it nice, in my opinion. There are people that, of course, that'll do that, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm giving you some optimum tips here on how to handle it. But anyway, you can pre-bake the shell, but we're not doing that in this case. We're going to take the hot shell and put the ingredients in it. Now, I have some diced onion here, and I'm going to throw it in the bacon fat. I rendered the bacon, which is going inside this tart shell right here. And I still have the bacon fat on the stove. I'm going to put the onions into the bacon fat quickly and cook them with a little bit of salt, pepper, and dried leaf thyme, okay? There's the onions. I have 1 cup of onions. No need to overdo the filling of the quiche. Remember, this is a savory custard tart with some stuff in it. In this particular case, we're making you your classic Quiche Lorraine from the town of Lorraine, okay? This is Gruyere cheese, a little bit of bacon, a little bit of onion, and it's savory egg and cream custard, okay? So let me get the thyme and the salt and pepper on the onion here while it's sauteing. And we're just going to lightly saute the onion. It doesn't have to be cooked to death or anything like that. I'm going to throw a pinch of salt and pepper on there. While that's happening, we're going to put the rest of the stuff in the quiche, and I'm going to separate the eggs for you. The formula that we're going to use here is 3 cups of heavy cream, 2 whole eggs, and 9 egg yolks mixed together. And that's going to be the custard. Probably a little more than I need for the shell. I'm making a little extra just to be safe. So I'm going to put bacon around inside the tart. So I can tell you exactly how much, and yes, in the written text recipe, it will tell you how much bacon to use, but it depends what you want. You can use diced ham also, and this is still Quiche Lorraine. Now I've got grated Gruyere cheese here. I'm going to put that right on the shell. Now a lot of people don't understand the purpose of what I'm doing. Now this way you can just putting the ingredients in here first before you put the custard in, see? So now I've got the cheese in there. I got maybe a cup and a half of the grated Gruyere cheese here. And believe it or not, the onion is just about done over here. It doesn't need that much. The important thing, too, is that you're absorbing a little bit of that bacon fat into the onion, and it's going to be incorporated into the quiche. Obviously, this quiche can be made with a number of different ingredients that do not include any meat whatsoever. This is great for tomato, spinach, mushroom. But you got to be careful when you're making a small, flat quiche like this that you don't have big pieces of ingredients. Otherwise, it's hard to cut and the pieces are too big, okay? This is ideal to be served as an hors d'oeuvre. Obviously, you can eat it as a main dish for lunch or something with a little salad, but this is designed for a little hors d'oeuvre. You can cut it into wedges or cut it into squares and put it on a little napkin hot. Very nice. Okay, let me get the onions in there. I'll tell you what, I'll give the onions another minute or two. They're not quite done. Meanwhile, I'm gonna separate the eggs for you real quick. So, like I said, we're gonna do 2 whole eggs. 1, 2, and then we're gonna do 9 yolks. 1. You'll notice that I'm not spending a lot of time. You see how I'm separating these eggs. This whole business of going back and forth with the shells is time-consuming. Not to suggest that it's not effective, but I don't think you need to do that. This is truly the easiest way to do it. Your fingers are the strainer here, see? Now, you can use all yolks if you want. I liked it with a little bit of white in it because I like the texture, okay? And I'm going to add I'm going to add 2 cups of cream to this is what I'm going to add. I think I said 3 to you, but it's 2 cups of cream. Sometimes I get carried away with the cream and butter. I'm sorry. All right, now I'm going to season this with a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt. You want to be careful about your salt. Your cheese has a little bit of salt. The bacon's got a little bit of salt. You don't want your quiche getting too salty on you. Mix up what is now the custard mixture. Remember, custard, dairy product, and egg, typically baked together, or cooked together, I should say. Now I'm going to taste this to make sure I got the right amount of salt in here. I need a little bit more salt.